Hello everyone and welcome back to more F1 Manager, where finally the 1.08 patch has been released. Yes, we've seen major tweaks and changes coming to F1 Manager. I kind of wanted to wait for the new patch to come out, of course, just before we jumped in to any more races. But 6 to go here of this Season 1, of course. If you missed out on the last video from Monza, I would highly recommend going back and checking out. But of course, we've officially caught up with real-life Formula 1 as well. We've got the all-new regulation vote results coming through as well today, so there is plenty going on in our F1 Manager save. Of course, I want to say a massive thank you as well to all of you for the insane and continued support on the channel. We're getting really close now to 84,000 subscribers. You know, if you're not already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed for daily Formula 1 related content. But yeah, back though at Marina Bay this weekend, of course, should be an interesting circuit. Like I said, you know, we've got the new changes. They're going to tweak things like tyre wear, you know, obviously the way the pace works on different sets of tyres, all that good stuff. That was kind of the main one because, you know, up to this point, it had been very inconsistent on F1 Manager. So I'm really hoping, you know, now with this new patch, we can sort of really dive into the game, obviously, when we get to Season 2. I will be releasing a vote over the next couple of weeks as well, of course, for you guys to have your say on which team you want us to go to for Season 2. But yeah, if you missed out on the Italian Grand Prix, definitely recommend going back and checking out because we've done it. Ferrari are Constructors' Champions once more there. The first time since 2008. You can see we've got a 275-point lead with just 6 races to go and 272 points available, of course. No, only 264. We've got no sprint races still in F1 Manager. Drivers' Championship-wise, though, things are definitely heating up. Currently 11 points between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz at the top of the table. Of course, last weekend at the Temple of Speed, our home Grand Prix, it was Carlos Sainz who was able to come out victorious. Quite lucky to come out victorious in the end. Charles Leclerc damaged his floor a bit earlier on in the Grand Prix. But having a look then, in terms of the regulation changes, of course, we had a vote last race as to whether we'd see a shift in the budget cap. And it looks like the majority are against those changes there. So Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Alpine, Haas rather weirdly, as well as Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin, all voting against those budget caps. So it was only AlphaTauri, Williams and Red Bull there that wanted to see a reduction in the budget for Season 2. So that's going to mean things are going to stay fairly stable. Of course, we're not too worried about Season 2, of course, because we're going to be jumping in with a new save at a different team. But yeah, let's get into it then. Singapore Grand Prix, Tom. I don't think we've got any other important bits to go over. I think both cars... Oh, we might have to change Charles Leclerc's engine by the looks of it. Let's have a look. So we're going to have to bring another one into the pool. That's going to cost $1 million. So it will incur a grid penalty as well, though. So we're going to have to install that on Leclerc's car. Sainz is still okay with his power unit, so Leclerc will be taking grid penalties this weekend. This is a big opportunity for Carlos Sainz to try and close up in the championship, because if he can just lead from the front, that gap's going to be coming down to 5, 4, maybe even 3 points. And of course, that's if Charles Leclerc can slice his way through around the Marina Bay streets. Let's get into free practice, though, here from Singapore.
We're here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, and the Singapore Grand Prix is just about to start. The name Singapore means City of Lions, and this weekend, Formula 1 will be roaring into action. The bumpy street surfaces here make this a challenging circuit for the drivers, and the humidity causes them to lose as much as 3 kilos over the course of a race. But it's also tough on the cars, with 23 corners to tackle each and every lap. Good low-speed downforce will make all the difference here. This is it. We're down to the last few races of the season, and it's time for that final push. Who will be crowned champion at the end of it all? We'll find out soon enough. What will happen this weekend? Only time will tell.
Right, so here we are then, back at Marina Bay, and luckily no rain this weekend is very handy for ourselves. But as always, you know, you guys are still giving me tips and tricks down in the comments below. I've now learnt that good setups aren't actually that good at all. It's on a 4 sliding scale. It goes bad, good, great, I want to say, and then optimal. So we need to be punching up for more optimal setups. Of course, you know, we need to be getting into that rhythm before Season 2. So it might require shorter runs on each set of tyres, And then, of course, just trying to fine-tune everything. So that's what we're going to try this weekend. Of course, Singapore, very, very much a track that relies on quite a lot of downforce. But you need a good balance on the car as well. So we'll try a few things, see what works. We'll send both cars out straight away then here in FP1. But, of course, I have also remembered we're going to leave Charles Leclerc on the old engine here in free practice. We'll keep having to tweak and change him around over these last few weekends of the year, just to make sure he's not... Obviously, what's the point in putting him on a fresh engine on a Friday morning? Of course, we'll put that in the car ready for qualifying. It might give him the edge that allows him to jump his way to pole position, but of course he will take, I think it's a 10-place grid penalty here on the Singapore streets. We're going to have to do a lot of micromanagement with Leclerc come Sunday. It might be a case of Sainz, we might just have to try and give him a good strategy and let him control the pace at the front. But Red Bull have been getting quicker and quicker. Who knows what will happen? Well, I've just learnt the hard way as to why you don't do really short runs in free practice here. Neither driver are able to give us much detail at all with just a 5-lap run. As you can see, we've got one of the Williams setting up a nice traffic jam there. We've got McLaren, we've got Red Bulls, we've got ourselves, and even Aston Martin are stuck in this train there, as of course it had to be Nicholas Latifi, didn't it? I don't think we've got any juniors in the cars this weekend either. Of course, we're not worried about putting Antonio Giovinazzi in. But yes, Sainz currently fastest though, but still yet to get any particularly useful data. Charles Leclerc seemingly quite happy with the car setup at the moment. Then there's 20 minutes to go in FP1 here. That's, like I said, you know, it's not great, but it's reassuring. We're taking the car in the right direction. I guess neutral around Marina Bay is not necessarily a bad thing, and Sainz, yeah, just about getting the data we need right as he's about to box once more there. 18 minutes left of FP1 though. We're getting some good information. We've just got to try and fine-tune things a bit more. Oh no, Sebastian Vettel, what might be his last weekend here at Marina Bay. What has he done over the Anderson Bridge? Oh, I mean, that's a front wing gone flying, but poor Sebastian Vettel, always done well around this circuit. Sadly, it doesn't look like, well, it's only free practice 1 still, but I certainly wouldn't have him on my prediction list to win here. We've got another one having issues then in free practice, sorry, then I should say, who's now had something happen. I mean, Sebastian Vettel out of the session thanks to that damage, but what has someone else been able to do? Probably going to get confirmation anytime soon, would be nice. Here we go, Yuki Tsunoda, same place, turn 13. Has potentially someone dropped some oil down there or something? I take it Tsunoda's done exactly the same thing. Yes, he has. Straight into the Armco, but we've seen that a lot from Yuki this year.
That was a big crash.
Bit weird, but we'll take it. Well, there we go then, having a look at the end of free practice, and Carlos Sainz there fastest ahead of Charles Leclerc. Verstappen will also be taking grid penalties though this weekend, so it really is the dream scenario for Carlos Sainz here. Hamilton P3 ahead of Perez though, 4/10 away from the Mercedes there, so Merc looking pretty competitive this weekend. Yuki Tsunoda as well now with penalties, but let's get into qualifying then. Of course, Charles Leclerc, we've got to make sure we bolt back in that the new power unit. But surely this is going to be Sainz starting from first. But will it be Leclerc who goes faster? Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like.
Today has already seen the culmination of practice, so we move on now to the all-important qualifying session. There are no more chances to practice this weekend. It gets serious from now on in, as our teams prepare to record their best lap times ahead of tomorrow's race. One good lap isn't enough to guarantee a strong position, with consistency absolutely essential for those looking to succeed. You're going to want to join us for this, folks, so fasten your seatbelts.
Right, well, there we go then. Final practice results. Sorry, I don't know why I can't get the right words out there. Verstappen clearly up on the pace of both of our drivers once more there. Hamilton and Perez a little bit further away there. And George Russell just really has not settled into the Singapore streets so far this weekend. But, yeah, let's get into qualifying then. Like I said, we have to make sure to put the new power unit back in Leclerc's car. We're going to have to play a bit more strategically with that, of course, when we get into Season 2. But let's jump straight into Q3 then and see what's going to be possible. Right, well, here they are then. Charles Leclerc getting ready for his first lap of anger here in Q3 around the Marina Bay Street circuit there. And you can see the Ferrari absolutely glimmering under the floodlights as well. This game does look stunning from some angles still. But round in the final corner then, here goes Charles Leclerc, about to wind it up as he heads through the final couple of 90-degree left-handers there. Opens up the DRS and out onto the start-finish straight he goes there. What times are we going to see from Charles Leclerc as he heads down in towards turn 1, then takes a nice bit of curve through 1 and 2. Of course, got to get the car then rotated through the left-hander of turn 3. Down in towards the next corner, of course, for the all-important run out onto the Raffles Boulevard. One of the fastest parts of this circuit. DRS wide open once again there as, of course, you head through the small right-hand kink. Kick the car over to that right-hand side there. It's braking at the 100-meter board for the 90-degree left-hander up next. We'll try and watch the times of both of our cars. Charles Leclerc currently fastest in Sector 1. Will Sainz be able to go any faster? No, he will not there. So still pretty close, I would imagine. No, Leclerc a couple of tenths up on Carlos Sainz. So clearly the extra few ponies from that new power unit are giving him the helping hand he needs here in qualifying as he heads over the Anderson Bridge here towards the end of Sector 2, one of the slowest corners, not only of the lap, but also in Formula 1, off that Anderson Bridge there, similar to, of course, the hairpin that we find at Monaco. But down now as he heads in towards Sector 3 there, fastest so far in those first two sectors. Bottas sets the pace at the moment on a 1:37.212, but you can just see we've got a Red Bull in the way as we head through the final couple of corners here. I don't know whether that's Perez. I think it might well be. But that's really not helped type Charles Leclerc right towards the end of qualifying there. He's definitely cost himself a little bit of time from that one. But where is Leclerc still going to be able to put this thing as he heads out of the final corner? I guess we've got a little bit of hope in, of course, knowing that he will hopefully hold up that Ferrari. It's still a 35.8 there, so a fantastic lap time still coming from Charles Leclerc. So a ride with Carlos Sainz then down in towards the final corner of his qualifying lap. Will he go quicker? No, he will not. Carlos Sainz are only able to do a 36.3, if I'm not mistaken. So really disappointing from Carlos Sainz there, lacking the pace in comparison to his teammate. But we've often seen this so far. The second half of the year has been Sainz able to claw it back right at the end of qualifying, but Leclerc currently has drawn forced blood. Right, well, here we go then. Less than a minute on the clock, and it is Charles Leclerc about to start his last lap here of qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz currently down in P4, but I've just upped his front wing angle a little bit to hopefully give him a helping hand on his final Q3 run here. As Charles Leclerc neat and tidy once more through those first couple of corners. He just seems so settled around this circuit at the moment, but like I said, we'll try and keep an eye out on what his teammate is going to be able to do as well. There's Verstappen only a tenth away from our two Ferrari cars at the moment. Hamilton there, like we said, getting up in the mix as well in P3. Could we see that from Mercedes this weekend as once more Charles Leclerc going even faster through that first sector by a few thousandths of a second, and Sainz seemingly still nowhere at the moment. He's improving, but Carlos Sainz has just got nothing in comparison to Charles Leclerc here in Saturday night. We've got Charles Leclerc with just Pierre Gasly a couple of seconds up the road as well. But what on earth is happening to Carlos Sainz? We've seen him take pole position after pole position over the summer break there. He's really been able to get under Charles Leclerc's skin and snatching away a few poles. Alonso, first car over the line, he stays P7. Bottas jumps George Russell up into P5 there as Zhou Guanyu improves, still 6 tenths away from his teammate, but Leclerc not going purple through Sector 2. Sainz going even slower though. What on earth is happening to Carlos Sainz? There is 3 tenths away from his teammate as they head out of Sector 2. At the very least, Sainz has to go quicker than Lewis Hamilton, of course. We know Verstappen and Leclerc have both got grid penalties here, but will Leclerc go even faster? Max Verstappen sets the pace on a 1:35.7. Leclerc, he's got 2 more corners to go. Will he be able to bolster Ferrari back up to the top step of the grid? Yes, he will, by 3/100ths of a second there, but Sainz, he's not improving. Carlos Sainz there stays in P4, so it's going to be Lewis Hamilton in all of that. He's going to be starting the Singapore Grand Prix from pole position there. We still, luckily, were able to get pole position with Charles Leclerc, which keeps the streak alive of 17 pole positions this year, but it will be Hamilton starting from the pole here at Marina Bay. Really surprised by that lack of pace there from Carlos Sainz. Not as bad as Sergio Perez, over a second away from his teammate there. But Leclerc and Verstappen are going to be fighting their way back through the field. Sainz will have to try and fight his way past Hamilton early on. It's going to get interesting here. Let's get into it. Singapore Grand Prix time. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
The time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel. Race day has arrived.
Ferrari performed brilliantly during qualifying and will be very pleased with their grid positions. But the challenge for them will be to keep the momentum going during the race. This weekend, Red Bull displayed promise during qualifying. Now they need to capitalize on their grid position and get a good race under their belts. The weather is very overcast here, and teams are staring at the sky watching for the first sign of rain. Strategies might have to be quite flexible going into today's race.
Well, we've got some fascinating strategies that are sure to be applied today. But for now, all eyes shift to the starting line of the Singapore Grand Prix.
Right, well, here we are then, trackside for the Singapore Grand Prix, in a really unpredictable race ahead of us. 61 laps, of course, the biggest endurance event in Formula 1. But we could see safety cars today. We could see plenty of carnage and chaos there. Max Verstappen will start this Grand Prix P6. Charles Leclerc... We don't know where Charles Leclerc is starting, sorry. I don't think we can even look at the grid, sorry, at the end of free practice. I was looking at completely the wrong information. We don't seem to be able to get a grid rundown, I don't think. We've got nothing in account for that. So let's have a look then in terms of race strategy today. Of course, soft medium is possible. Right, okay, we're putting both drivers on a very aggressive strategy then here at Marina Bay. No real threat of rain as the evening goes on, but of course, yeah, we're going to have to try and see. There we go, confirmation. Charles Leclerc starting P10, so Verstappen will be right up behind him in 11th place there, but... yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this is going to go. Sainz is still really not comfortable with this car there. We'll give him slightly less wing because that's how he felt quicker. But strategy is going to get quite difficult today. Like I said, there's probably going to be a lot of micromanagement of Charles Leclerc's race strategy. But Sainz, we're just going to have to try and get him ahead of Hamilton at the start and hope that he can run away. But let's get into it then. Singapore Grand Prix. Hamilton starting from pole for the first time this season. Will he be able to claim his second win on the slowest and tightest street circuits? Of course, one back at Monaco, but surely we can try and win today.
It's a cloudy night tonight, but otherwise the weather looks good for the race. Taking a look here at Carlos Sainz. They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. Leclerc there, down the grid. With a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. And we're just moments away now. We're just moments away from the Singapore Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Well, there we go then. Lewis Hamilton, clean and tidy start there. As you can see, Carlos Sainz trying to have a look up the inside, down in towards the first turn. Will he be able to make the move? No, he will not. Sainz, again though, like I said, we've just got to push him at the start of this Grand Prix. He's got to go full overtake mode on Lewis Hamilton here early on, so we're just going to have to make sure that Leclerc makes it through the first couple of corners clean and tidy, and also, of course, keeps Verstappen at bay, as are we going to see Sainz be able to go for the run immediately on Lewis Hamilton then. Of course, Lewis will want to try and get to the front of the field and stay there, but Leclerc has already lost the place to Max Verstappen there. It's still early days, though, so we're not going to worry too much about it in terms of tyre strategy. What did happen then? How did Verstappen get past Charles Leclerc there? He was just offline, of course, in the scramble at the start of the Grand Prix there. Max Verstappen up the inside there. Look at just the cars everywhere as we head out onto the Raffles Boulevard for the first time in this Grand Prix. Even Esteban Ocon was trying to have a look past Charles Leclerc, but he does hang on in P11 for now then. But yeah, I mean, not the end of the world there, unless you're Crofty apparently. But yeah, in terms of strategy then, looks like pretty much everyone has started this race on a set of soft compound tyres. So like I said, we're just going to get Sainz to apply the pressure there. As round the outside, down at the old Singapore sling, Carlos Sainz, what a move! And immediately into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix there. What a fantastic overtake on the opening lap here around Marina Bay. Love that from Carlos Sainz. And now, hopefully, we're just going to leave him to keep pushing early on there. Hamilton, I thought for a brief second there, might have been under pressure from Sergio Perez as well. But Sainz has got to try and break free at the front of the field here. You can see George Russell having to defend from the cars behind. But what is Leclerc doing a little bit further back there? He's not under much pressure at the moment. So we'll just monitor the gaps at the front of the field there. As like I said, we've got to try and get Sainz out of DRS range from Lewis Hamilton here. Of course, we now know that the medium compounded tyres will struggle against the softs. Finally, at last, F1 Manager has patched that out of the game. But Sainz round in the final couple of corners then. The gap's up to 0.8 of a second by the end of lap 1 there. I just cannot get over that move around the outside down at the old Singapore sling. We never see overtakes there. But Sainz just trying to bolt away from Hamilton early on. We'll bring it back down into a more balanced approach there. Now the gap is over 1 second. Let's just get then down to Charles Leclerc. Sat in P11 at the moment, of course. It might be worth just watching him, watching Verstappen even in front. Just try to make moves there. As you can already see, Verstappen once again on the offensive as we head down the Raffles Boulevard. But of course, the Dutchman, we know that Red Bull doesn't quite have the same top-end speed as our cars. So we might get Leclerc. We can't really set him to go aggressive. We've just got to tell him to push at the right points of the venue. DRS enabled then as Carlos Sainz just hanging on to a 1 second lead over Lewis Hamilton. But are we going to see Charles Leclerc try and make a move back on Max Verstappen as we head down towards turn 1? Verstappen trying to have a look for a move past Kevin Magnussen though. Will Leclerc be able to find his way through this battle? Doesn't quite look like he's just going to have to sit there at the moment, but we have got him now on full attack mode, full deploy there. As will K-Mag try and keep the nose up the inside of the Dutchman? Yes, he will, but it's going to be to no avail there as Charles Leclerc could have got a monstrous run out onto the Raffles Boulevard. He'll watch K-Mag make the move work back on the Dutchman. Charles Leclerc needs to send it, but again, he'll just sit back for now. Really, really difficult. Of course, you want him just to try and go for it. You know, you can take big risk, I feel, early on in this race. Of course, still in the championship lead. And, you know, from next weekend onwards, will probably be slightly quicker than Carlos Sainz, depending on what goes on with his engines there. As Charles Leclerc having a look round the outside of Verstappen, then second time today. Are we going to see one of our cars make a move around the Raffles Boulevard? Round the Singapore sling? No, sadly, we will not this time. So there we go now. Max Verstappen has pulled off the move on Kevin Magnussen as they went down the back straight. Leclerc surely has got to try and get past K-Mag as well. But I think we have to get past the Dutchman, of course, because he's just giving other cars DRS when he tries to complete moves. So here we go. Charles Leclerc at the final corner, just lifting slightly there. A bit hesitant to try and commit to the move on Kevin Magnussen. But up the inside, down at turn 1. Takes a lot of curb. He'll have the inside for turn 3 as well. They're again taking a lot of curb. But he has completed the move. Up now, back inside the top 10 of the Singapore Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, though, I don't think will have DRS off the cars in front of him. So could we get 2 for the price of 1 here? As there we go, Leclerc has overtaken K-Mag. Verstappen, though, just moved around a little bit as we went through the kink there. Will Leclerc try and send it this time? Yes, he will. Up the inside, down at the end of Sector 1 there. And will Charles Leclerc complete the move? Yes, he will. Up now into P9 of the Grand Prix. He's got a few cars just a second or so up the road. Next on the old hit list will be Zhou Guanyu, as Sainz unable to shake off Lewis Hamilton still early in this race. Oh no, I completely clicked the wrong button. I've just missed, well, Alonso apparently ran wide down at turn 1. So let's have a look what happened to the Alpine. He went over the sausage curbs. I'm sure Alonso will be okay with that one. But yeah, Leclerc, has now moved up into P8 of the Grand Prix. I desperately need to set up some keybinds so I can just, skip and slow down and things like that, because I find myself still constantly clicking the wrong buttons on F1 Manager. But Leclerc is getting a little bit feisty. He's now got Pierre Gasly just in front of him, so perhaps building up some confidence early on in this Singapore Grand Prix. This is what we love to see. Here we go then, Charles Leclerc starting lap 6 of the Grand Prix here. Not quite close enough to Pierre Gasly to try and make a move work back down at turn 1, but we're going to have to keep just trying to get him to push on early in this race there, just trying to micromanage him as best as possible, as unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, it looks like Hamilton has just snuck back within the range there again, so we're going to put him on full deploy as well for a lap or so there, as Lewis Hamilton definitely applying pressure, as here goes Pierre Gasly alongside Charles Leclerc up in towards the next corner. It looks like Leclerc should complete that move, but Pierre's not going to back out of it just yet. And luckily, in the end, Charles Leclerc now up another spot here. So we're just having to, again, like I said, you know, micromanage him around the circuit. And there we go. Leclerc just confirmation there from the game that he has made the overtake. Are we now going to see him try and apply pressure to Valtteri Bottas as we head down in towards the old Singapore sling? Not quite this time round. Leclerc will once again hold back. He's been pretty sensible, you know, just trying to make the moves work over the Raffles Boulevard, as you can see there, just managing the gap at the front of the field again. Yeah, Carlos Sainz now just pulling away from Lewis Hamilton a little bit, but Hamilton, of course, now back inside the DRS. Mercedes is fast around this circuit. He has really given us a proper run for our money. There we go, new fastest lap for Carlos Sainz as well. Just goes to show how much pace we have got in that car there, as here comes Charles Leclerc once more on Valtteri Bottas as we head back down towards turn 1. Oh, I thought about it up the inside of Bottas there, but just not quite the opening that we needed, as again we'll get Charles Leclerc back on the push mode once more as we head out on towards turn 4 once again. I mean, we're stuck in a little bit again of a DRS train here, but of course this Ferrari so quick. Look at the straight line speed there. Bottas though getting his elbows out, not willing to accept it this time round, as George Russell now under pressure from Fernando Alonso just up the road. Looks like Alonso will move back up into P4 of this Grand Prix, but again, another lap left begging for Charles Leclerc there. We'll just get him to harvest, and he will have to slot back in. Oh, here we go, at turn 3 this time round to the outside of Valtteri Bottas here. This would be a brave move from Charles Leclerc. Of course, he's going to have the DRS still, but so is Bottas, so they're going to be drag racing off the corner, and here comes Charles Leclerc then. He's made the move work on Bottas, but here comes Bottas as George Russell now sat in the way. They're 3 wide into sector 2 there. George Russell has to cut over the chicane there, but has Charles Leclerc down the middle just pulled off one of the most audacious overtakes I've ever seen around the Singapore Grand Prix circuit there. Never did I expect down the middle was going to work for him, but Charles Leclerc now up into P5 of the race. I definitely want to watch that one back on the replays. Look at that, Bottas just trying to box him in. George Russell takes way too much curb. Bottas gets hung out to dry on the exit, and somehow Charles Leclerc down the middle, up into P5 of the Grand Prix, making mighty progress early on. As you can see, Verstappen's still stuck down in about P8. As of course now, Charles Leclerc might even be able to make a move on Fernando Alonso out onto the back straight here, because of course there is another DRS zone. Are we going to see Alonso now under pressure? Charles Leclerc straight past him, up into P4 of the Grand Prix there. A fantastic effort from Charles, up 6 places in the first 8 laps here at Marina Bay. But now we just need to tone it back again and make sure that we keep after the tyres, 75-74%, as there we go, just confirmation there about Leclerc. But Sainz just putting away a little bit at the front. We are going hard on our tyres early on in this race, but it's going to be worth it in the long run, I feel. As are we going to get outside of the 1 second mark? We basically are, so we can get Leclerc just to harvest a bit. Of course, we'll hope to close up to Sergio Perez over the next couple of laps, but now we've kind of snuck our way out of that whole midfield gaggle, we can really just sort of tone it back and work out our long game plan today. As we come towards the end of lap 9 though, I mean, Charles Leclerc, look at this, he's now all over the back of Sergio Perez in this race, and I've still got him on harvesting battery. So Charles Leclerc is still absolutely going for it at the moment. We might be able to make a move work out of the final corner here, back down towards turn 1. The DRS is still very powerful on F1 Manager, but Sergio Perez is going to have nothing to defend himself as we head back down towards turn 1. Just that Red Bull got enough straight line speed to try and hang on this time round as we head through the first couple of corners. Quick update on Verstappen, he is well and truly stuck behind Pierre Gasly and his AlphaTauri there down in P9, so it has been a nightmare start for Max Verstappen. Just has not made the progress he desperately needed to, as here comes Charles Leclerc then all over the gearbox of Sergio Perez. Once more down the Raffles Boulevard. Charles Leclerc going to pull to the inside of Sergio. Is this going to be Charles Leclerc back into the podium places? Yes, it is. He just slams the door there on Checo. Checo knows it's not really a battle he can get involved with at the moment. And there we go. Charles Leclerc now back into the podium places. Hamilton is a fair way up the road. Still, of course, trying to apply pressure to Carlos Sainz there. But the gap's opened up to about 3 seconds at the front. I think now we just got to tone it back a bit, look after the tyres, work out what's going on. But also, of course, we cannot let Sergio Perez stay close. It's all about just trying to break out of the DRS windows as well. Have a quick look, see what Perez can do out down the Raffles Boulevard here. We'll just put him into defend mode, try and hold off the car behind. Just make sure if Perez is thinking about anything. He can't quite put it off that time. Right, so the pit window has now opened up in this Grand Prix, but I'm just monitoring the gap there. Hamilton is still hanging on with Carlos Sainz, at the front of the field. Sainz is still not confident in that car there. Charles Leclerc's just gone fastest, and he's taking time out of our two front runners here, but we're at 1/4 distance already here in Marina Bay. Sainz has got a little bit more in reserve. He's actually quite low on fuel. We'll worry about that a bit later on in the afternoon, but we can definitely take these tyres about another 10 laps, I feel, so we are going to try and extend this first stint on both the cars. But we've just got George Russell causing an absolute train further back. Verstappen has made up 1 place up now into P8, but he's just got a face full of Valtteri Bottas' Alfa Romeo, and Verstappen just is stuck. Oh, we got a safety car. What's gone on?
Okay.
It is Max Verstappen. What has he done then? Down. We don't know what he's done. There's several cars involved, apparently. It's not Max Verstappen. It's Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen out of the Grand Prix here. So what's happened then? Kevin Magnussen a little bit offline. Has he just gone deep into the hairpin and then Ocon's followed him in? Yes, he has! Very, very weird crash, but both Ocon and Kevin Magnussen out of this Singapore Grand Prix. And surely we've just got to box both cars even onto a set of the hard compound. We could risk... Do we risk mediums? Let's go a bit of a split strategy. We'll bring Sainz in onto softs. Onto mediums. We'll bring Leclerc in onto hards. We know Leclerc's been quicker today. Just confirm that one. But it is going to be quite difficult here, as we'll stay with Carlos Sainz then, of course, because... Ooh, no, that's not rain, that's just some reflections in the background there. There we go, Sainz into the pit lane. Hamilton is also going to box here, but it just opens up the strategy later on in the afternoon there. Looks like everyone is going to be pitting in this race, as we just need to make sure, of course, we get both cars saving battery, saving fuel, everything like that. Everyone is boxing in this Grand Prix there. I think, yeah, pretty much every car so far is. We'll get confirmation in a minute of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo heading into the pit lane, but the top 10 all are in. Are we going to see the McLarens risk it? Daniel Ricciardo is opting to stay out there. Sainz that was already re-emerged back out onto the circuit, so he's going to be still out in the lead then of this Grand Prix. Leclerc has been held, so he's dropped back behind behind Perez here, which isn't going to do him any favours. Please say he's still out ahead of Ricciardo. I think he is. But yeah, this gives us a good chance just to save fuel, save tyres, everything like that. And then hopefully we'll be able to go green flag racing once more in a minute. But second safety car in 2 Grand Prix. F1 manager is getting chaotic. Gasly's crashed under safety car? Eh? What has Gasly done under the safety car in this Grand Prix? Is Singapore getting... Clearly something went very wrong there. Is that Gasly out of the Grand Prix? I don't know just yet. We'll get confirmation in just a second. No, Gasly back into the pit lane then, so... Down, but not out for Pierre. Oh, here we go. Green flag racing once more here then in Singapore. That's happened a bit earlier than I was expecting, so we're going to have to get both drivers back into attack mode off the restart. I mean, we need to get Charles Leclerc back ahead of Sergio Perez there, and maybe we can try and jump Lewis at the same time. But here's green flag racing then. Lap 17 of 61 here at Marina Bay, and both of our cars have really got to try and push on off this restart. They can see cars almost 3 wide there. Back down towards turn 1 as we'll try and stay. I think Charles Leclerc is going to be the one to watch at the moment there, as he's going to try and hopefully complete his second move of the day on Sergio Perez. But of course, Sainz needs to break that 1 second barrier once more. He's done it once already in this Grand Prix. But here comes Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez is going to square him off as they head down the back straightaway here. But are we going to see Leclerc go for a send? He's looking for it. Up the inside he goes of Sergio Perez there. And are we going to see a carbon copy of the move he did earlier on? Yes, we are. And Leclerc now back into P3. of the Grand Prix there. Just make sure he's not under any team orders still. No, that's absolutely fine. So Leclerc then making moves once more in this Grand Prix. Are we going to be able to try and catch Hamilton out just like we saw at the start of this race? I don't think Leclerc close enough this time. But you can see Hamilton saving battery rather aggressively at the moment. He's already 1.5 seconds back behind behind Carlos Sainz, sorry, at the front of the field. Can we see Leclerc now try and get a run as we head down the second of the back straightaways here? Hamilton aware of him trying to break the toe, but Leclerc can't quite make anything happen this time. We'll get him just to sit back. And here we go then, starting lap 20 then of the Singapore Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc now back in the wheel tracks of Lewis Hamilton as we head down towards turn 1 there. He's going to have a look to the outside of Lewis Hamilton there. Completely cuts him off down at turn 1 there. Hamilton still side by side with our Ferrari car here, and Lewis Hamilton has really given us one of the best runs for our money so far this year. But Leclerc up the inside, of course. DRS has now been re-enabled here at Marina Bay as well there. Hamilton will try and come back at him though as we head down the Raffles Boulevard. Are we going to see Leclerc be able to hang on ahead of Lewis Hamilton here? He's still looking for it, but Hamilton picks and chooses his battles wisely. He knows a podium place here could be really, really important for Mercedes. Of course, he's still locked into battle with Sergio Perez in the Drivers' Championship, but now Leclerc's got to try and break out of this zone and hopefully build up a 1 second lead there. Of course, it will be about trying to nurse tyres towards the end of this Grand Prix, but we've got quite a split strategy, so no one really knows whether the mediums or the hards are going to be the tyres to get to the end, but Sainz has got 5 seconds to play with, and that can become really, really important towards the end of this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc has done a massive effort to try and get back up to P2 of this race as quickly as he has, but there is still a long, long way to go here at Marina Bay. Further down the order, though, we got both Red Bulls now duking it out as Max Verstappen trying to defend from Sergio Perez there. So the Dutchman has been able to make progress after that safety car period. That was really coming handy for Max Verstappen there. But Sainz, yeah, still just controlling the pace at the front. He's not pulling away from Charles very much, but of course he is aware he has to nurse those tyres to the flag. We just got to get Leclerc out of the DRS range from Lewis, just so then we don't have to get both drivers to worry. We've got a virtual safety car. Someone else has had issues in this Grand Prix. I can't quite tell who it is just yet. DRS said has been disabled. Definitely don't want to box at the moment. The virtual safety car won't last long enough. And I can't see anyone stopped on the venue. It's Fernando Alonso down at turn 18. What on earth's happened to Fernando? Don't say he's Nelson Piquet'd it. Not quite. Oh, he actually skimmed the inside wall there. And somehow, I mean, he's caused a roadblock, but somehow we're going to keep this race going. Right, well, green flag racing once more, and Hamilton immediately on the offensive here to the outside of Charles Leclerc. Will he be able to make a move work this time round? Of course, Charles on harder tyres still. But Hamilton just can't make anything happen at the moment. As we're getting closer and closer to half distance, it does look like a lot of this race has calmed down. There's still a couple of little battles going on up and down the order. But Hamilton is still being a real headache for us here. We're going to get Leclerc just to push on. Maybe he can build up a bit of a gap, but it won't be much. As there we go then, getting towards half distance here. Charles Leclerc has finally broke out of the DRS of Lewis Hamilton. So hopefully now we can just relax a little bit and breathe in this Grand Prix. But I imagine there's a fair chance we'll see another safety car in the second half of this afternoon. But yeah, Leclerc, this has been a fantastic drive so far. And I mean, if Sainz starts to struggle on his tyres towards the end, could we see Charles Leclerc still somehow win this Grand Prix? Not gonna lie, as we get towards 2/3 distance here, I'm not particularly confident looking at Carlos Sainz that he's going to be able to get those tyres home to the checkered flag here. Is it worth boxing him within sort of the next 5 laps or so and hoping he can make up the gap? I mean, he'll be out ahead of Perez, so I think Perez is pit again. So are we seeing... No, there's no one apart from Gasly's on a 2-stop so far, so Perez is just struggling with pace like we've often seen this year. But yes, things are getting a bit difficult here because Leclerc has taken a fair chunk of time out of Sainz. Charles Leclerc might genuinely still have the pace to win this race. Of course, he's got the fresh power unit. He felt more comfortable in the setup there, just moaning slightly about tyre temperatures. But 22 laps to go here. Sainz is not far in front. Oh, and you can just see now, Alex Albon, I think that is, getting in the way of Carlos Sainz there. So surely this is going to mean Leclerc might be within the 1 second zone, unless, of course, he gets held up behind Albon. He sends it up the inside as before they get to the Raffles Boulevard. Has Leclerc picked up DRS? No, he hasn't that time round. But I really do wonder if we're going to have to try and box Sainz before the end of this Grand Prix there. Just absolutely blast it on a set of soft compound tyres. He seems to be chewing through those mediums there more than anyone else is at the moment, with the exception of Daniel Ricciardo. Actually, I don't think is still pit in this race. So what on earth is going on for Carlos Sainz at this stage of the Grand Prix? Do we let him just stay there and try to hang on to the win? Or do we just try and make sure that he solidifies P2? Leclerc's done it. Leclerc's into the lead of the Grand Prix there. When did Charles Leclerc do that? He was like a second back and then suddenly was ahead of his teammate. Well, it's not even giving me the option to view it. I cannot believe we've missed out on seeing the battle for the race lead there. The gap was like 1 second and then suddenly they'd swapped around. And I think that is definitely now going to be the time to bring Sainz in onto a fresh set of the soft compound tyres to see him through to the checkered flag. He's losing time to Hamilton and Verstappen as well. Has he picked up damage? Oh no, the powertrain's worn, but it's still at 50% wear. That shouldn't be too much of a concern at this stage of the Grand Prix. But Charles Leclerc, he has been in a league of his own so far this evening. And Carlos Sainz has just got nothing he can do against his championship rival. So here we go then, Sainz into the pits at the end of that lap. So I'm intrigued to see how far behind Hamilton and Verstappen he's going to re-emerge in this Grand Prix. But Leclerc's still comfortable out at the front there. And it is very, very clear that those hard tyres were definitely the way to go then. Like I said, unless something else is going on with Sainz's car that we're not aware of, he is losing a lot of time at this stage of the afternoon. He should come out still ahead of Nicholas Latifi in that Williams as he heads out of the final corner. Just worried a little bit about getting slowed up. He's not even going to come out ahead of Latifi, so he's going to have to try and navigate both Williams again before the end of this GP. Luckily, he's still P4, but he is a long, long way behind Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton there. 23 seconds behind them, and with 18 laps to go, I mean, we have to just tell him to push on and see what he can do. Oh, we've got Hamilton and Verstappen, I think, is starting to duke it out a bit more as Sainz is absolutely flying there. 43.0. Sainz now has already taken about 4 seconds out of the front runners here. Maybe just somehow he could try and give himself a chance still at the win here. You know what? I'm going to say it. 10 laps to go of this Singapore Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz is not out of this. The gap now down to 13 seconds between him and our race leader, Charles Leclerc. 4 seconds now behind Hamilton and about 7 behind Max Verstappen. We need to get Sainz back to P2, but if he thinks he's got a fair shot of the victory, we've got to let him go for it. We'll just bring Leclerc up to a similar push level as well. We're just going to try and keep it even between them, so if Sainz has got the pace, he can go for it. So here we go, about to start lap 53 of 61 here, and now Sainz is all over the back of Lewis Hamilton. So are we going to see Carlos make a move out of the final corner here? He's all over the gearbox of the Mercedes there. Is he going to try and send it down at turn 1? He'll think better of it for now. We'll just put him into overtake mode for a moment, just so we can try and go for something here, because of course we need to make sure that we don't get stuck behind Verstappen there, as immediately he's not even got to the Raffles Boulevard yet, and Carlos Sainz there up the inside of Lewis Hamilton. He'll get the DRS as well, and now 8 laps to go of this Grand Prix. The gap down to 11 seconds between the top 4 cars here. Red Bull and Mercedes are certainly closer than they've been on quite a lot of occasions this year, but Sainz is a man on a mission. We've seen Carlos have to try and fight his way back through the field on more than one occasion this year. Of course, Canada is the one that really does stick to mind, but 9 seconds now with 6 laps to go. It is getting a bit close, but I don't quite know if Sainz is going to have enough there. As up the inside of Verstappen, he goes down at turn 1. He can't afford to lose time behind these other cars if he wants any chance at the race victory there, and he barges Verstappen out there, just shows him the elbow, shows him the door, and Carlos Sainz now up back into P2 of the Grand Prix. So that's the most important bit. We're still going to be taking home a 1-2 here in this Grand Prix, as long as Verstappen can't come back at us. But will Sainz be able to get close enough to Charles Leclerc in the dying stages of this Grand Prix? Verstappen thinks about it down the end of the Raffles Boulevard, but he knows that battle is pointless for him at the moment because Sainz is just so quick there. As we've got an Alpha Tauri sat in the way. Not too sure. I'm guessing that is Yuki Tsunoda here, as Leclerc might just have to cover ground over a couple more lap cars before the end. Sainz loses out a little bit of time. Verstappen's still all over him, but surely Sainz has got enough to pull away. Oh! We got a safety car! 5 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo is now out of the race there. What on earth has happened to Daniel Ricciardo here? He must have just ground deep at the place we've seen everyone making mistakes all weekend long there. Lucky. Oh, no, he's got completely rammed. So Fernando Alonso has sent Ricciardo to the Shadow Realm late on in the day. We cannot afford to box either car here. There won't be enough laps to bring him to the end, but we could see a 1-lap scrap. Sainz has been given a lifeline in this Grand Prix there. We're going to set them both just to save everything, and then for the last couple of laps of this Grand Prix, they're going to be able to go all out at each other I cannot believe it. Late on in the day, Singapore is delivering. Right, here we go then. Safety car in at the end of this lap. We've got one of the Haas cars in the way, but both drivers are going to be told just to go all out for the final 2 laps or so of this Singapore Grand Prix. Things are going to get really, really exciting here between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Sainz is on fresher, softer tyres, but they are pretty worn out there, as it really will depend on when Kevin Magnussen, I think, no, sorry, Mick Schumacher, it must be, gets out of the way there. As look at this, not quite 20 Formula 1 cars bunched up at the final corner. Leclerc is going to lead the way, though, as it's going to be green flag racing once again here at the Singapore Grand Prix. Mick Schumacher immediately dives out the way. He wants nothing to do with this on the final couple of laps of this Grand Prix, but it's helped out Leclerc massively. Immediately, he's got a 1-second lead at the front of the field here, but this is going to be a 2-lap scrap between both of our cars for the race victory here. The championship is still absolutely on the line here. It could go either way still at this stage of the game, and both drivers know how important the extra 7 points is going to be this weekend there. But Charles Leclerc, he's looked after those hard compound tyres fantastically up to this point. Sainz had to box one more, but he obviously led for so much in the early stages here. Leclerc has been the faster driver throughout most of the afternoon, but are we about to see the fireworks? Of course, Constructors is wrapped up. These two can battle as much as they like in the final few races of the year to decide between themselves who will be world champion. But of course, we would love to still try and bring both cars home clean and tidy. Over the Anderson Bridge they go for the penultimate time in the Singapore Grand Prix here, and Charles Leclerc is still leading the way. Of course, we'll get no DRS on the final lap here, but Sainz is slowly taking time out of his Monegasque teammate there. Verstappen is dropping back rapidly. This is just clear cut how much of an advantage Ferrari have got at this stage of the season. It's given me Bahrain 2014 vibes between the two Mercedes there, of course, when they were battling it right to the end of the race and still pulling out a second a lap over the other cars there. But Sainz, he's got within 3/4 of a second of Charles Leclerc, and the gap just doesn't seem to be coming down anymore at the moment as we're starting the final lap of this Singapore Grand Prix there. Charles Leclerc from 10th on the grid will start the last lap in the race lead here. It's been a valiant effort from the young Monegasque driver there. He has led for so much in the second half of this race. He nursed the tyres, he made the overtakes early on. Charles Leclerc absolutely deserves to take this race victory, but Carlos Sainz, we all know, will do anything he possibly can there to prove to Ferrari he is not the number 2 in this team. He wants a fair shot. This is both of their chances at a first Formula 1 World Championship, but at the moment, it looks like Leclerc might just have enough on the final lap of this Grand Prix. Sainz is not able to get close enough at the moment. What on earth is going on with Carlos Sainz here? He's just not able to utilise the last of the grip on those soft compound tyres there, as the gap is still coming down still. But DRS obviously not being available has really, really damaged Carlos Sainz's chances in the final couple of laps of this Grand Prix there. Through they head, Sector 2 for the final time there, over the Anderson Bridge. Please no mistakes from either of them here, as someone else is locked up behind. I'm not worried about that at the moment. We got yellow flags out in Sector 1. I don't know who that is, but again, I'm really not going to worry about it. Oh, we got multiple cars off again, apparently, on the final lap of this Grand Prix there. George Russell seemingly might be out of it on the final lap of this race. Let's actually have a look then as to what's happened there. George Russell just behind. He's between Bottas and I think Sergio Perez still in this Grand Prix. Has he just locked up? George Russell, big crash, and Bottas left with nowhere to go, so we're going to get a roadblock on the final lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. This afternoon has been absolute chaos, but Charles Leclerc rounding the final few corners of the Singapore Grand Prix there. There's yellow flags out in Sector 1. That's not going to worry him too much. Through the final couple of turns, from 10th on the grid, Charles Leclerc is going to win here in Singapore. He's going to extend the championship lead for the first time in 3 Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc wins at Marina Bay.
Battery at the moment.
Yeah.
So we have checkered flag now.
Let's go.
Let's see what happened there. Charles Leclerc there, taking home the win.
Just the perfect end to what has been a thrilling race.
Well, this was definitely Charles Leclerc's weekend. podium is a true recognition of everyone who's been working so hard for this result. And the Monegasque driver certainly proved his worth with a terrific drive today. It was a hard-fought contest for all three drivers, each one securing precious points for their team. I don't think Ferrari will be too disappointed with that result.
That's right, the team really deserves to celebrate this success before looking ahead to the next race.
After an intense weekend, the team ends in first place in the constructor standings.
Next round will see us head east as F1 prepares for the Japanese Grand Prix. We'll see you at Suzuka, a firm favourite for the drivers.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Singapore Grand Prix. What a race that was. And despite, both drivers struggling early on, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen still, with their penalties, making it back to the front of the field there. A fantastic race from Charles Leclerc, 10th to 1st, and he didn't quite take the fastest lap bonus point, though. That will go to Sainz there. Sainz just struggled all weekend long with just never quite got the setup right, and that's what really cost him come the end of the day there. But yeah, Verstappen P3 ahead of Hamilton really did deserve a podium. Lewis Hamilton this weekend, but just missed out at the end there. Perez ahead of Bottas and Zhou Guanyu there with Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, and I think that might be Sebastian Vettel and Aston Martin's first point of the year there, with George Russell retiring late on in the afternoon. Daniel Ricciardo 7 laps down at the check, obviously, because he retired late on in the day. But Drivers' Championship-wise, then the gap opens back up to 17 points at the top of the championship there. Charles Leclerc still leading the way like he has done throughout pretty much, I think, the entirety of this championship. Verstappen still P3. Hamilton does take a couple of points out of Perez, but I think that is going to be a big points deficit to try and overhaul late on in the year there. And yeah, look at that. There we go. Sebastian Vettel. Singapore has always been a fantastic track for the German, and he does get Aston Martin's first points there, which is going to mean as well, constructors-wise, they are now ahead, safely ahead now, of Williams as we head into the final few races of the campaign. Then McLaren re-jump Haas with Lando Norris's good result there, and again 699 points for ourselves. We are still absolutely dominating the way at this stage of the game. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. The new 1.08 patch of F1 Manager has certainly made things a bit more interesting, and we will return very soon with more Formula 1 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.